Hello traders, and welcome to a video showing you guys exactly how I have been able recently to make a few $1,000s here or there using StockTwits sentiment. So I love social sentiment. I think a lot of people already know that, but I want to give you guys a tool that is completely free that you can use right now after this video. Before diving in, my Discord is action-packed with tools like this and other kinds of alpha that I can't really talk about unless you are inside the community. If you're interested in just checking it out, you can click the link in the description below. Also in the link in the description below will be this tool right here, so you'll have full access. Okay, let's dive in. What is this? So StockTwits is a chatting platform that also shows a lot of markets. You can see sentiment, message, volume. But of course, what are we here for? We're here for the sentiment. We're here for the message volume. So what it does is every message that is sent out, or most messages that are sent out, will have a bullish or bearish lean to them. You can see it's tagged as bullish or bearish. And that allows us to have a lot of information on how people feel about various assets. So here are a few things that I've done being able to trade, this in the past month. So here's Coinbase. I have made a few trades, and I will show you guys some of them. So I sold December 5th at 44,000. I sold 2 Bitcoin. The reason I did that was I was just thinking December 5th was right about here. Sentiment was at 100, which means that just about every single message was very positive, which means very bearish. So I wanted to sell. I sold there. Then things got very, very, very interesting. I was actually able to buy back at 40,900 and selling at 44K, buying back at 49,900. I'm saving myself 3.1 grand per Bitcoin. So I'm technically making a decent amount of money just by, selling and buying lower. So I did that, and I was able to get filled December 10th, 2013 local time. What's interesting about this? Well, let's go look at the sentiment score then. So remember that this is a measure of how many positive or negative, i.e. bullish or bearish messages that there are. Now, December 10th was, around here. December 10th, there was a score of 51. And then December 11th, it went down to 6. So around this time right here, these 3 red candles, do you see how bearish this was? How bearish the sentiment was? This value was at 6, which means that 94% of messages were bearish. 6% were bullish. Just fascinating stuff. A lot of people thought that this would be a full-on reversal, but I was actually fortunate enough to buy. Then later I sold again at 44,000 a lot more recently. I sold, as you can see, at December 20th. And December 20th had quite extreme sentiment. I can show you that right here because it got to 95%. And I'm reading those numbers right here, guys. Okay, so December 20th, I just really wanted to sell. I didn't like what I was seeing. I was thinking that things were just too bullish. Things were a little too positive. And I was able to sell at about 44,000, as you can see right there. I then recently sold as well, and I just want to show you guys that sale, which happened at 43,420. I was able to sell December 27th, as you can see. Let's go look at the sentiment back on December 27th. So there was a spike of sentiment on December 27th that I saw, and I really did not like that. So if you read the value in the top left right there, it says sentiment's 99. Not good. That means that way too many people are bullish, and it's just not a great sign. So I was able to sell right there and to go to essentially all fiat. So I was just very, very happy with this because, I was essentially able to sell 44,000, so about right here. And then I also sold 43,420. I sold right here. So I got to sell basically the market tops. I'm not using support. I'm not using like resistance support. I'm not using RSI or MACD. All I'm doing is looking at how people are feeling, how people are thinking about this, about Bitcoin. And I'm using that against them. If people are very, very bearish, I like to buy. If people are very, very bullish, I like to sell. This kind of system works very well with spot trading, not so well with futures trading because there's leverage and there can be crazy wicks that can liquidate you. But if you're trying to build a spot trading account, I really can't think of a way better than social sentiment, looking at how people are feeling. So a few other extremes when this one was just absolutely crazy. So again, here is social sentiment. We can see it. It gets very positive sometimes. It gets very negative. You can see that the all-time high of positive, I think, was like here. But this sentiment in purple, guys, you need to put it into context. And that's where we get message volume, which is just how many messages are coming in, which is going to tell you how important are these signals that you're seeing. It's a little cluttered. I do understand that. But at the same time, orange is how many there are, how many messages there are. Purple is how positive or negative people are feeling about something, okay? So when message volume spikes, basically what that is telling you is you should be paying attention to sentiment right now, okay? So when were messages at the highest? Well, messages were at the highest on December 4th and December 5th. You can see that right there. They're 100% essentially. December 4th, December 5th. You can see those values right here, guys. It was 100. So December 4th, December 5th, a lot of people are talking. What are they saying? Let's go to sentiment. This was at 100. What does that mean? That means that so many people are bullish. All the messages are positive. Everyone's thinking that they're going to make a lot of money by Bitcoin going higher, and a lot of people are talking. But let's go look at some times where there just wasn't a lot of talk. You know, like this December 23rd, December 24th. The sentiment here doesn't really matter because there's just very few people talking. Let's go look at it. December 23rd, 24th, the sentiment was low, but it just doesn't really matter because you do need to look at the message volume. So I do want to make that clarification when you're using this tool, okay? You need it to be a lot of messages, not just a few. So here are some other examples. You can see that right here, sentiment was very positive at 97, but there just wasn't really that many messages. There was a spike in messages here, but it really wasn't that much. Most people were talking here again December 4th, December 5th, December 3rd, when Bitcoin hit a local high, and that's where we got very positive sentiment as well. So this is really how you can do a very good job of putting this into context. So how would this have backtested if we had bought at anything below 10% and sold anything above 90%? Well, it would have backtested very, very well. So with those kind of signals, a 6 would mean we want to buy because that's below 10. So we buy at 29,924. If we just sell above 90% sentiment, you're selling at about 43,700. That's a very large profit already. Again, if we do that, we could buy here at 26,000 and then resell. I think we hit 90 up here, yeah, at 27,000. So that's a fair amount of money right there. Now, again, one other thing I do want to say about what you're looking at right here. These sentiment values are reflected of the open of the daily candle. Does that make sense? So if you see this daily candle is here, that's reflecting the sentiment at the open, okay? Because it says here sentiment's at 42, right? But if we go to the most updated, it says sentiment's 21. Why is that? That's because this chart, you just have to know this. This chart that you're looking at where it says 42 sentiment, it's reflecting, when this day started. What was the sentiment at? So if you think about it that way, the candle that you're seeing during that sentiment, the sentiment came first, not the price, okay? So a good example of that, sentiment was really poor on March 12th, 2023. A lot of people not feeling too good about Bitcoin, right? Then that was reported at the open of that green candle right there on March 12th. Then price ended up actually going up a lot, okay? So you do have to know about that, about what comes first, which is the sentiment. Because that's reported at the open of the candle. Okay, so then this sentiment, this price increase was reflected right here, where sentiment went up to 13. Now this was interesting. People were still very, very bearish on Bitcoin. Sentiment of 13 that means a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people are unhappy with it. And then price kept going higher until sentiment topped out really high at 84. And then after that, price fell off a little bit because we went from about a high of like 30,000 something down to a low of 26. Very, very, very helpful tool. You don't have to just use this on Bitcoin. You can also do this on coins like, let's say, Solana. Solana has a lot of messages, but just remember when you're using this tool, you need to have the one that says .x because that will reflect a cryptocurrency, okay? So if we look at Solana just really quickly, I don't want to make this too long, but I don't know how many messages there are. Maybe a fair amount. But let's go look at the sentiment here, shall we? So the sentiment here looks like it was very low here. December 19th would have been a probably good time to buy. And then the sentiment just skyrocketed when we got to the 90s. And a lot of people were bullish. And now a lot of people are bearish. So I don't really know what to make of that. I'll look at the 1 year to see if this shows me anything, but it just kind of looks all over the place. The 1 day would be very, very short-term stuff, but yeah, I mean, maybe Solana doesn't really have the best correlation. So perhaps you just need a lot of messages such as something like Bitcoin, Ethereum, to make a very good, sentiment gauge. But Binance is interesting because there was very poor sentiment in the past, 1 month? because of what happened with the courts, with CZ and all. I don't know if that was 1 month. That was, I think, a little over a month ago. But yeah, you can see sentiment was very poor. And sentiment was very poor here at 33, which means that the majority of messages are very bearish on Bitcoin, on Binance Coin. And then price just increased, was like, yeah, whatever. It's funny how that can happen. But yeah, maybe just stick to Bitcoin and Ethereum. Altcoins might be a little bit more speculative when it does come to sentiment. Whereas Ethereum just looks like, much cleaner signals. But yeah, you can see that sentiment for Ethereum is very, very low. So this could have been a very good time to buy, right around here. And we'll see if that remains the case. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope that this StockTwits sentiment tutorial was helpful. Just to recap really, really quickly, the best coin to do this on is Bitcoin because it has so many people talking about it and it's so popular on StockTwits. It has 555,000 people watching it and a lot of people talking about it as well. And the people talking about it do talk about price movements and price changes, which is helpful because it's telling you how people are reacting in real time. Other altcoins can work, but sometimes they just don't have enough messages to really make it, like a very strong point. So do keep that in mind. So with that being said, you want to use typically Bitcoin, and you want to have both sentiment and message volume on because we want to see an increase of message volume to really tell us that people are talking a lot about something. Because the ingredients for a market top or a market bottom isn't just a top in sentiment or a bottom in sentiment. It's a lot of people talking, a lot of message volume, and then you see, a sentiment score going to like 100. Or sentiment score going to like 0 for a market bottom. That would be a very, very, very good sign. Just sentiment by itself, if it's very, very low volume, it might not matter that much. You can still look at it though. But it's when these messages get very, very popular at 85 here. And that's when you need to really start thinking about this sentiment super high. Price is going to struggle going higher. I love this stuff. I hope you do as well. If not, go check out my other videos. Really cool tool. So thank you, StockTwits, for giving me access to how people feel. Happy trading.